the first podcast of our challenge series. Seattle Roofing is in a company. Rory, what's your story, man?
Well, I've been a GC for a little over 18 years, I guess. I've done some commercial. I did everything from building houses and property preservation after the crash, and then flipped houses, got into investing, all kind of made my way around the whole gamut. And then I get in 2000 and, oh gosh, 13, I bought a window company. And that's where I learned in-house sales, marketing, the financing, and then I got exposed more to the roofing and that side, higher touch, higher quality, more technology. And that's when I discovered you back then. And ever since then, I realized that that was the strongest business.
The windows or
no, really roofing.
Niche business or roofing?
Roofing, but windows have the same matrix, some of the similar KPIs of the way it performs, but roofing was always my favorite out of all the services, and so that's where really we got to where I got into wholesaling real estate there after I sold a business, doing just under $5 million a year, and then I got into wholesaling real estate and learned deals and acquisitions. And then started consulting for some roofing companies, and then it didn't really have the retention. I was making a lot of money, but I didn't have I was used to building businesses, buying businesses, and growing those businesses. And instead, I was just growing other people's businesses, and they were making, I was making money, and then, but didn't have the retention. I didn't feel the equity in my efforts, what I was doing with my life. And then that's where we, about 2 years ago, started buying and building companies again, and then ran into you this spring.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I always said that there's no money in the remodeling industry. If you study the business, except if you're building tract homes and you're like the biggest in the country, even in that scenario, you have equity money, you have investors, but I've never ever met successful GC. Why is that?
There's too many unknown unknowns and known unknowns. Like was that book, Never Split the Difference, The Black Swan, right? If you look at any builder, they systematically go out of business about every 7 years before a reset, it seems like. Because the way the laws are structured, like in Seattle, there's a lot more build to rent now because the way the laws are structured where there's a class action lawsuit against the builder almost every time. So he has to build, move whatever money he can around, restructure, change businesses to keep whatever he has. But when you look at a lifetime, there's zero retention because of the back end liabilities that he may not want to see. But we look at a long enough timeline,
What about remodeling? Just flip, basement finishing, additions. Why is it such a hard business?
It's specialized for one. You don't have the carpenter, a journeyman carpenter that does that. Are very, very hard to find. They're very, very expensive, and they're very, very touchy many times because they're so prized. They're in demand, right? They're the prom queen, we like to say, right? And then there's very few of them, and then you have a volume. There's a big demand for it. Everything is very expensive. And to translate that for a homeowner is tough. I had a mentor about 15 years ago. He talked about a surgeon that he could do any shoulder surgery in about 45 minutes. The average surgery that could take 90 minutes to 3 hours, but he had no infections because he mastered the speed. When we look at wealth, when I look at wealth, I look at $1 million. If I make $1 million in 10 years, that's not very good. If I can make $1 million in a month, I can measure that. And so it's the turnaround. You're exposed too long inside the homeowner's house. They begin to hate you after about 6 weeks.
But isn't it true? Because that's what I was always teaching people, that doing less is doing more. So I always said that every general contractor, every remodeler wants to be a roofer because nobody gonna ever turn down a roofing job. If someone comes to GC and say, "Can you do my roof?" the answer is always yes. It's a one-day project. Everybody, knows a sub or can get a sub. Quick money, quick turnaround. But that's extreme. So GC is extreme. Everybody knows it's hard. Specialty contracting, everybody knows it's successful. Leaf Filter does like $1 billion a year just in covers. Like there's a big window company, big roofing company, big gutter company. But in between, we have people fighting to do more. We have, fencing and roofing, drywall and roofing, right? So would you agree that the less you do, the easier it is to scale? So you started Seattle Roofing Company. How's journey so far? And do you agree with that statement that doing less is doing more in trades?
1,000%. And it's been a challenge for me even now because of how much work I even had on the books with all the remodeling. And I think it's a pride thing to get.
It's hard to turn the job down.
Turn the job down. And I just went through a book on marketing, and it's a line extension, like Bud Light ruined Budweiser, right? The more we add, because I look at what does it take to master roofing. One product, TPO, PVC, there's thousands of idiosyncrasies to learn, and you're constantly learning more. That's one industry that we believe it is specialized.
I mean, we have specialties within a specialty: metal roofing, flat roofing, clay roofing. Here we have clay products.
Yeah, underlayments, new technologies. That's one line item. When you look at a remodel, there's 250 sometimes line items, right? And it's impossible to master really even any one. We can get to mastery levels, but to master them all is impossible.
The only business model that I like for GCs or any contractor for that matter is cost plus.
Yes.
If you do cost plus, have you done cost plus?
We do. Yeah, we have, especially for dados. That is, but it's a fixed margin.
Yeah.
There's no way to win because there's no way to lose.
What's good cost plus margin?
We do a 20 and a 15, so it's a total of 35.
35.
Yeah, and then but you have to retrofit.
What's 20? What's 15? Can you elaborate?
GCOMP, overhead and profit. So the profit being 20 and the overhead being 15. So it has to be a fixed cost of 35, which is actually a failing formula. You really should.
Why is that?
Well, I believe every cost of goods sold in our area because of liabilities, market penetration, what it costs, it should be 50% margin. That for a business. Most businesses are 80%, 75% profit margin. They deal with challenges like taxes and different things. When we have to fight, or a homeowner wants us to do it for a 10%, it's just, you cannot survive. 35%, that's hard to survive on. That pushes volume. Now you have execution issues and scalable, and then as you scale, you have more problems. 35 is a tough margin.
What's the hardest thing you've learned in the roofing space so far? Like, you came to a roofing industry, what surprised you since you opened Seattle Roofing Company? What was the easier than you thought, and what was the harder than you thought when you made the switch to narrow down to one niche?
Easiest, which has blown my mind, is brand solvency, I guess we would call it. Like you mentioned, you go into Seattle, you would see that it looked like it's been there 40 plus years.
Yeah. And Seattle Roofing Company have been around for like 6 months.
Right. But I mean, people will say it just feels.
Perception is not there.
Yeah, like it was carved on Plymouth Rock.
I recently called a few plumbers, and this plumber guy comes in for the BZB something beer plumbing, and ask him how long he's been in business. He has a fully wrapped vehicle, designed it himself. He did not do kick charge, which is like the most expensive company. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to stand out. He worked for Hero Plumbing before, like well-branded company. He's like, I know what I need. It was like, it's his first year in business, and if he would not tell me that, if he would say it's a third generation, I would believe that. So like, it's all perception. My perception was big company, and I'm probably gonna get a high price. In reality, it was a startup that looks big, and he immediately said, "I'll give you a discount if you go with me, and this is your problem." And I actually like the quote, and I like the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had clients that say, when you pull up, and as one client had gotten 8 bids, and she had said she didn't even call anybody back that didn't have at least badged logos. So it didn't even take them serious enough to call them back.
People do pay attention to it, and they do make buying decisions based on it.
Big time. And then the card matches the truck, high quality.
Yeah.
The card itself. I mean, my account manager here, he handed out a card. He was in Las Vegas the other day, and the guy handed back a card. It was like leather. It was really nice. And then he handed one of our cards that you had designed for us, and the client said, "Wow, this card literally, dumps on mine."
People do pay attention. I mean, I want you to think about subconscious level of this. You might say, well, it doesn't matter. It's all about roof. It's all about quality. It's all about shingles. Yes, it is. But your brain is not going to ignore good name in front of you versus handwritten estimate. Your brain will say, be careful with this one. This one is solid.
Right. And then I think for contractors or service, we make the same mistake a lot of homeowners do. We spend too little. They want to save money on cheap business cards, cheap wrap, and then it costs you one quality job, retail. I can honor the warranty. I can give my guys benefits. I can build a good, solid company, and it's from one step. Where the business cards might cost, I think it's $350 for 50 of them. Where you can go to Vistaprint and get $500 for 50, whatever it is, for the cheap ones, and pass them all out. But that one step equals tens of thousands of dollars immediately. So spending the money on quality equals quality. So everything kind of attracts after itself, I guess.
I spent a little time with you in Las Vegas at the show and here now. What's up with the gym shorts?
I get that all the time. You talking about the tank?
Yeah, thanks.
When I wear a shirt, I actually look cooler in them because it's full, but they're very uncomfortable. I keep them on me when I go to a client's house.
They make different sizes. Like there is a XL, there's double XL.
Right, but they don't fit my body.
Have you tried Built? Built Brent?
No, but I'll put it in my nose.
Built is for big guys who exercise. Patrick Carr wears Built shorts. It's his favorite short. I have plenty of them. So for someone with the big shoulders and a small waist, you're gonna look good.
Built. Okay.
BYLT.
Why?
Built. You can send me a royalty check later. What was the hardest in a roofing business that you found out the hard way?
So essentially this time around, right? So I've built a roofing company or exteriors company before. The hardest thing I didn't think was going to be as hard. It's a tie between two things. Getting out of my own way is always tough. The enemy is always the hardest one to defeat. I think it's what Art of War says, if you can defeat your enemy in you, there's not an enemy that stands outside you that can defeat you. But the systems, getting the systems dialed, always hiring the people who I know are smarter than me because I'm not good at those things, but getting the systems transferred. I can see the vision and how it all fits together, but it's been a challenge in getting super streamlined systems. So we have quality proposals, we have this, but getting them streamlined, turn around fast enough has been a bit of a challenge. And then, laying down all of the other products to the point where, now all I can see, you talk to me, I may want to do a deck or some siding. Siding's decent, but I just want to do, and we've got roofs. We have we're booked. We got a lot of roofs in the whip, and I'm just more and more, I just want to specialize. I want to fix smaller.
What products impressed you at this show so far?
The one you just broke was pretty cool. What they didn't see is before that, you really put them to the test.
Yeah, they wanted me. I did not want to jump on it. It's like, no, please do.
Yeah.
Let's make a video.
I got the first video where you were stomping on it and it didn't break. And I remember during window, if you know a lot of window sales, you always stand on the window. You'll throw the window down, you'll stand on it, and you'd be like, hey, I can see by the look on your face, this is the window for you, right? And so, but if the window ever broke, right, in a client's house, we had a joke where you always sold that job. Something happened. In fact, we sold a siding job not that long ago, and I was pulling out, my truck is lifted, and I ran over, I bumped the guy's garbage can, right? I think Jay was with me. And I go, oh, I sold that job. I knew in my mind I had sold. It's like a $50,000 job, and I knew I had it in the bag because I kind of half ran over the guy's garbage can.
So in Seattle, you have 6 months worth of rain. How do you deal with that? How do you roof in market where it rains all the time?
We keep massive tarps on site all the time. So we have 50 by 60s. We have a series of tarps. And in fact, we got caught the other day because it just downpour, which that doesn't happen a lot in our Hawaii, where just all of a sudden the faucet turns on, and we were doing a flat roof and some water got through within seconds, But we keep tarps on immediately, and we'll look, if it says 40%, we won't tear off or install that day. Everything's got to be dried in at the end of the day. There's no tolerance for not being dried in by the end of every day. Even as you go, you're tearing off and you're rolling underlayment. We got to be very mindful.
Good. Ethan, you want to throw in any questions, any topics?
God, this is a great conference.
It is. RoofCon?
Yeah, I'm really glad. What made you decide to come?
Well,
To this one.
I have partners here. So Raul here with the Radiant CRP. I have Go and Anna. Honestly, wanted to support. What happened was a couple weeks ago, I have seen few posts, and Hurricane Milton came in, and I've never been at RoofCon in 5 years because my mentality is if I compete with someone, I don't want to look how they do business. If I run a conference, I don't want to go to another conference because it might affect me how I do mine. If I'm a YouTuber, I'm not gonna watch other people's videos because I don't want to plagiarism accusations. I don't want anybody ever say oh, you just copied that idea from me.
Yeah.
Or I talked about, right? I want to be as original as possible because I'm a creator. Every morning I wake up, every stuff that I do in my business, I try to come up and solve the problems versus go on different websites and oh, what RoofCon is doing or how they do this. Anyway, I wanted to be original, but this year, after Milton came in, something inside of me was they're not going to get attendance probably. So I reached out to Hunter Baloo. I say, hey, I want to support you, dude. I want to come visit. I have plenty of vendors I can collaborate with. I'll help you push the tickets if you like. He's like, absolutely. I said, I don't want to Ethan. I don't want any dollar. I don't want to let's just do it. And he's like, absolutely. So they created a code Insights 40. And I made public announcement, hey guys, I'm coming. Just wanted to show, in 5 years, I never showed support and we were growing parallel, but now I sold my event. And I feel like for me, collaborating is more important than competing. And I still compete in other areas, but just decided to do it. I don't know. My heart was in it.
And that was the theme kind of this year. I remember you mentioned that where you said, hey, look, we're collaborating instead of competing. That's been the resounding message I've heard from you all year.
I tried it all year, but my problem, to be honest with you, there's so many bad players and there's so many people who try to pick a fight with me, so it's very hard to collaborate. So sometimes I'm just in defensive mode. So sometimes I'll post stuff and people are like, why you post negative things? I'm like, well, I'm just defending myself. Right. Sometimes I have to go and explain why I do what I do, and kind of, even if I answer to the hate, people still look at it negative, and sometimes you just have to defend.
Yeah, that's why I follow this man. Everything he says, I agree with 1,000%. We have an abundance mindset. There's no, we compete, but it's a sport. I think of it as we put on the jerseys, we play the game, but we respect, and support.
It's very hard, Dale Carnegie said it best, when you criticize someone, people will be mad at you. People will call you, right? And the problem with my business, directory.com, is a recommendation platform. So I recommend contractors. But when you do that, you will also call out the bad practice. So I'll recommend 1,000 good guys, but there will be 10 guys who will go to jail or who will do something very shady. So it's very hard to make a good recommendation without identifying what bad is. Because if you, like, I do have good mindset, and I think like any bad deserves a second chance, and if he turns around, I'll support him, right? But if I'm recommending you and I have a con artist in your market,
Right.
for me, it's extremely hard just to recommend you and not to tell homeowner, hey, beware, there's guys who's doing ABC, and many people will not pick that fight and will not call out the bad player. And I feel like that's how we fight the evil,
Right.
by exposing it. You can't just shush, and that's why, and I'm a big believer in it. Over the hundreds of years, in churches, for example, the reason we have problems with the pedophilia, like the darkest stuff, because within a church, which is the best organization in the world, they're like, hey, let's not talk about it. Or our priest raped a boy, let's not make it public. And I say no. If that freaking takes place, you expose it. That's the only way you can, fight evil. When you bring something to light, it disappears. And we will like, hey, let's not be negative. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Negative is positive.
Right. The fear or the beginning of good, it's in a book we have read many times. The fear of the Lord begins, or is to hate what is evil.
Yeah.
There's another book that's the subtle art of not giving a F, right? He says, so by default, by not caring about one thing, you default care about something else. And vice versa. I agree 1,000%. And not, if you have a polling of your heart, I think you believe it too, that was a higher power put that there. To not obey that is just as wrong. Because if it happens again, that's on me. If I didn't make the right decision now. Even Martin Luther King said, the man that doesn't stand up for what's right is just as dead on the day he made that decision than the day he lays out. He said, well, if a man has nothing to die for, that man has nothing to live for.
Evil things happen when good people say nothing. They're silent.
1,000%. It's just as evil as the event. I've always believed that too. That's another reason I really respect you.
But I guess the problem is, personally for me, there's a fine line between judging others and calling out like something like very nasty, right? Because it's very easy to interpret it as like, oh, you're not perfect, but you're talking about someone else.
Right.
And, if I'm not a thief, I can call out a thief, right? Like, it's not like, if I'm a bad father, I'm not going to teach you how to raise kids.
Right.
But I can talk from experience, like, hey, this is what I do with my kids, right? If you're good at something, you will talk about it. If you're not, you're not. But
yeah, well, it gives us accountability too.
Yeah.
Because those who teach will be judged more strictly.
Oh,
so, like,
100%.
I've noticed that about you. You're accountable. If I'm wrong, if he says like I'm wrong, show me.
Yeah.
Show me your homework, and I'll show you mine. And then that makes me better, or you better, right? Because now we've opened ourselves up to be made better, to be cleaned out.
Let's finish with the advice to the contractors who may be doing it all and have a hard time to let it go. So I have guys who, like, here's who I want you to give advice to. I have a guy who called me. He said he'd been doing it for 12 years. Year over year, he never made money. So he at the end, he was like $600,000 in debt. So year over year, always losing money, working for builders, to keep taking jobs from other guys. And now he's trying to go on his own. And I told him, stop taking those jobs. How would you approach this person to start making money in construction?
Well, you got nothing to lose. If that way isn't working and hasn't worked for 12 years, give it a shot. Give it 3 years. Give it. It's proven. It's a time and time. Any really good consultant you talk to will tell you to be specialized. Even if you go to sell that business, you can't sell a GC company. It's not worth anything. it's more of a liability. You don't want to think about handing your business to your children. You can hand a specialty business to your children, whether even if it's countertops or whatever it is that you do.
Because you're not the business.
It's not your, yeah, exactly. So think about that. Would you want to give that down to your kids? Or if you have a
So
system.
GC is not sellable business. It's a good point.
It's not sellable. And that's where I learned. I had got a company prior to buying that window company. I had a company. I was doing about 1.3 million a year as a GC, and I went to sell it because I was doing a bunch of investing with some investors, and I was wanting out of it. And I went to a friend of mine who's an investment banker who buys and sells businesses, a lot bigger than SBA loans stuff at the time that I didn't understand very much. He said, "Rory, I'm your friend. I would sell your business for free." He says, "But it's not a sellable business." He says, "Find a specialty business and buy it." And that's when I found the window business.
Wow.
And then when I scaled that to over 4 million in 3 years revenue, and I still broke the rules as far as doing to spread too thin and made all the mistakes. I had to learn really the hard way and prove that fact, but I would just do it. I would just do it. You got nothing to lose.
Love it. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Yeah.